Hey everybody, welcome to Massimo Motivation. My name is Christopher Massimo. I'm a licensed therapist, and today we're going to talk about how Duckboys affect women emotionally. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome to Massimo Motivation. Today we're going to talk about how Duckboys affect women emotionally, and yes, we're going with the term Duckboy. So the guy, essentially this is the guy who says he's about commitment, but ultimately isn't. He's the guy that comes across as very confident, maybe very sweet in the beginning, who puts on a persona, puts the correct foot forward, and you're like, oh wow, I finally found him, only to find out that he was in it for the wrong reasons, okay? So let me start off by saying, disclaimer, not all men are Duckboys, okay? Lots of men want intimacy. Not all women want intimacy, okay? It's okay to mix and match. It's actually okay to have a passionate love life. That doesn't automatically make you a Duckboy. These are the types of people, we've created a social construct of what it means, but really these are the type of people, to me, that are taking advantage of other people and maybe lying, and to be really clear, I get this with clients a lot. If you say I didn't lie, but you didn't tell the full truth, you were just deceitful. So sure, you didn't lie, but you were still deceitful, and Duckboys are deceitful people. So keep that in mind, and let's jump right in. The very first thing that happens to women that I am concerned about when it comes to Duckboys emotionally is you create a cyclical expectation of communication, specifically with passion. So you get this idea in your head that men, in order for me to feel valuable or for me to interact with them, I have to be physical with them. That either that's what men want or that's what I have to do to get them to like me. And that's obviously wrong. It's wrong, but it's easy. It's simple. And so the more times you go through, one guy turns to 4 guys, turns to 8 guys that you've had bad experiences with, and they all seem to care a lot about that facet of your relationship, especially early on, you begin to see that as how it works, which then creates this expectation of communication, or really a lack of communication about what you guys really want beyond that, and an expectation of the cyclical passion going over and over and over again, where that is where you place your value and the relationship's value, or its weight, if you will, at the beginning of the relationship, based on how good that goes, which is not the way you're supposed to establish a relationship. In the past, we've talked about the relationship triangle, which is intimacy, passion, and commitment. Feel free to check out that video. But essentially, passion is the absolute worst thing that you can found a relationship on. So don't do that. That's a bad idea. The second thing I'm worried about is generalization. So this is when you have 4 guys that all acted a certain way. Tom, Jeff, Harry, and Chris all acted the same way. And you decided that those 4 people represent 4 billion people. And that's obviously stupid. But it's normal for us to do this, and let me explain why. Your psyche is looking for patterns. It's looking for expectations. It wants to set its standards and its emotional expectations up for the next interaction. And so it takes the information that it receives and tries to apply that everywhere, so that way you can enter the next situation with the right idea and needs, and you can facilitate that appropriately. But what happens when those expectations are flawed? What happens is you still do them, because your mind can't differentiate between what is healthy and unhealthy at a subconscious level. Only your consciousness can do that. So if you're not being intentional about deciphering what is happening to you and why you're acting a certain way, you will overgeneralize the negative. And you will come to believe that that is true, even when it's not. So the third thing I'm worried about is this self-esteem deterioration. So it's essentially the idea that you will begin to accept love that is beneath you. You're worthy of so much more. But because you inwardly, and we do this naturally, you will begin to inwardly look inside yourself and say, what did I do wrong? What did I not bring? What was wrong with me? Why didn't he like me? Why wasn't he for real? You'll have a lot of these questions, and I know you have. And so that will create a self-esteem gap. And that self-esteem gap is between where you see yourself and what you actually deserve. And the self-fulfilling prophecy then begins, where behaviorally you do things that match your perception of self, not the reality of self. And that's a really, really sad thing to watch, especially when you see repeat behaviors over and over and over again And it really just stems from this person not really understanding their strengths, their weaknesses, things that were out of their control, they'll prescribe to themselves. It's really sad. It's really sad. And I don't want to see that with any women. So again, disclaimer, not all men are duck boys. Okay? We're going to put that up twice. Not all men are duck boys. There are good men out there. Your job isn't necessarily to change them. Your job isn't to not run into them. And like it's hard to tell sometimes. Your job is to understand what is happening if it happens and to prevent it from happening again on your end. So knowing what you need to look for, knowing if you're generalizing, knowing if there's a self-esteem issue and things like that nature, that's your responsibility. And I want everybody, I truly do, I want everybody to find love, real love. And in order to do that, you got to go through some of the weeds. So guys, I hope this was helpful for you. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and as always, remember, mind, muscle, maximize.